This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Ira, you feeling good?
You know what? I'm feeling good, Big O, and it was very interesting this morning. Both Anthony Chang, who I know you'll have on a couple of times this week, and myself posted additional stories about Kyle Lowry. And the one thing you talk about often over the years is they're the type of player whose back is against the wall, who either pushes back and tries to make things right, or complains his way out of a situation. And I think the fact that Kyle Lowry is addressing head on the reality he did not have a great season, he did not have a great playoffs, and he is willing, Big O, and this is key, to be different and be better. That's all I can ask. Everyone's entitled to a crappy day of work, a crappy week of work, maybe the years even for Big O, a crappy year of work. And then you come back and you say, that wasn't good enough. I'm better and I can be better. And everything we're hearing from Kyle Lowry is that, look, I don't think at 36 years old he's going to get NBA Most Improved Player. But I do think he could be one of these guys when you talk about a bounce back season or a comeback season. I fully expect that right now. Because between what Eric Spoelstra said and Pat Riley said, Heat Nation said, Orlando Alzugaray said twice a week on the Acura Pembroke Pines reports, I think it's hit home with him that there's a greater expectation. There was only one team willing to give him $85 million over 3 years at his age. And I think he realizes he owes something in return. So I'm really curious to see how it plays out this season.
I agree. I have no problem with that. And I think that's, for a mature player. And if you're going to be a true professional, you got to be able to look in the mirror and say, man, I didn't do my part. You know what I'm saying? So I have no problem with that. I commend that. I admire that because that sets a good example for everybody else. And listen, in the end, it's not just also the money. Your best friend fought for you, man. Yes. Your best friend, was the reason why you're also there. And then you let him down. So you owe it also to Jimmy Butler to come back in great shape. You owe it to Jimmy Butler to compliment him and help him win a title for the Miami Heat and do it to your best ability. And unfortunately, last year, he let himself go and he was not at his best, that he could be. And I will say this till the end. We are incredibly fortunate down here, and so is he, because normally when you get that out of whack and that overweight, and you got to play at that level, and you're trying to overcompensate because of your weight and all those issues, injuries usually happen from all of that. And that was the one blessing that I will say out of last season for him, that he avoided a serious injury, because normally that's what happens to somebody that takes that kind of a chance.
And the other thing I'll say is this. And this might sort of come out as cold, but I think Jimmy Butler's a real son of a bitch in some cases. He will stand by you as long as you're worth standing by. And even we saw last season, Jimmy was not as much with Tyler Hero when times weren't going great. Jimmy wants to win. He's a cold-hearted MFer when it comes to that. And I think there's a message there to Kyle that I think if you were to tell Jimmy right now, hey, we could trade Kyle for maybe Kevin Durant or maybe a Donovan Mitchell, I'm not as sure he would fight and go to the mat. I guess that's the best phrasing, Big O, in that case after last season. So I do think Kyle, to a degree, has to re-earn the trust there. But I also think Jimmy Butler would cast aside anyone and has done it over the years when it comes to winning. Just like you've had partners over the years.
By the way, the dude above him, the Godfather, he'll cast your ass aside too if he has to win also. So I'm sure at one point or another, Butler and Kyle say, hey, Kyle, you're my guy, but the guy above me isn't going to take this shit. So, I need you to get in shape, but I just want you to know the guy above me, you better worry about him more than anything else. For you, but he'll ship your ass out for a salary just to get a guy in. So, get your shit together.
Let me ask you this.
I'm sure that conversation happened too.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, because you know Jimmy enough and you've seen him enough and been around. If Pat Riley went to Jimmy Butler this summer and said, Jimmy, if we can upgrade the team, are you okay? Because you got to keep Jimmy happy. We've seen what happened in Philadelphia and Chicago and Minnesota. If he's not happy.
Listen, you got to keep him the way he's played. You don't have a player like that on this team. No, you got to have You don't have an alpha, bro. You need an alpha. We need another
But
alpha
let me
on
ask you this. If Pat went to Jimmy this summer and said, Jimmy, would you be okay if we traded Kyle Lowry for an upgrade? Let me ask you, Big O, what do you think Jimmy said if that was the case?
I think Jimmy said, can you do it without, I'll talk to him to make sure that he gets his shit together this year. And I'm sure Riley also had his own conversation, but there's no doubt that I bet that conversation might have happened. Like, hey, Jimmy, listen, but if I get to make this kind of a move, I can't risk having this happen again this year. We don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. You don't have time for this. We gotta do whatever we can to win. So I'm sure. Look, I doubt that they're the same way Butler is a brutally honest SOB. I'm sure Pat Riley is the same brutally honest SOB at the same time. And in a way, that's how they roll in that building.
Yes.
And so if your feelings are hurt, you better not play for the Heat, dude, because that's not the organization that's going to worry about your feelings. They worry about winning. And if you don't have the same attitude, then that's why you probably don't belong in that building.
And I can tell you, about a week or so back, end of July, I made some calls and I asked, has Pat Riley spoken to Kyle Lowry since he made his comments about conditioning? Has Kyle Lowry spoken to Pat since he heard it? And I was told no on either end for this reason. And I love stubbornness at times. Pat Riley's thought is this. His message was sent. He doesn't need to say anything else. Kyle can play that comment on an endless loop. He can read it when people like you and me go to social media. And on the other hand, Kyle didn't reach out to Pat because I'm going to show that SOB who's in shape and what I can be. So Kyle has been working his butt off at those 5 and 6 a.m. workouts, like he said. We've seen some of the video in the gym, but he's out to prove himself also. No one likes to be called out publicly. It's one thing.
Well, there had to at the end of season meeting, there had to have been something said there.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something to sort of enlighten you and some other people. There aren't always end-of-season meetings with elite players. Sometimes they just go their own way because of this reason, Big O. Coaches and GMs know I can't do the motivational thing. I can't do that. The player is either going to take pride in who he is and what he is, already has a blueprint career-wise of what he needs to do. Those meetings are mostly for the young player to give him a blueprint because they don't have blueprints. Or if they're at absolute loggerheads with James Johnson, with Dion Waiters, you must do X, Y, and Z, or else you're going to be sent downstairs and not be allowed in camp. The more veteran players, the Jimmy Butlers, the Kyle Lowrys, if they don't know by now, then they're never going to know. If they don't know at the moment, they're never going to pick up on what they need to know. So I think those meetings tend to be a little bit overstated. That's my thought.
Okay. All right. By the way, did you see Royce O'Neal?
What he did to his mother?
Yeah, bro. I don't know if for those of you saw Royce O'Neal, you might want to take down that screen there, Sean. But Royce O'Neal was practicing with his mom. Let me make sure I raise the volume here. Here we go. Gotta give mom credit, bro.
She sold it. She sold the foul.
Yeah, man. You gotta give mom credit there, man. That was strong right there. At least she's giving him a little bit of a workout there. That's dedication from mom there, right? I mean, that's
and you know what? That's a little one. And I don't know if you saw the other thing that was posted late last night and this morning. DeJounte Murray showed up Paolo Banchero really bad in the Summer League game. Yes, he did the little dipsy doodle up and under, got him sort of on the wrong foot, threw it off the backboard and dunked it. And the two have been going back and forth, for a while now. There was also another summer game, one of these recreational games where Bones Highland from Denver got into a fight with another player in that summer league. It's really interesting. Look, I told you this last week on our Acura Pembroke Pines report. I don't put too much stock into Bam shooting 3-pointers, into Jimmy extending his range, into Kyle showing his great physique in July and August. Because on social media, I've never seen a player post this. Hey, look, I'm missing a lot of 3-pointers. Hey, look, I got really fat last month. No one posts that. So it's all edited. It's all positive. But there is so much fascinating stuff in the Summer League. For example, I watched Markieff Morris the other day. They have this Rump Classic in Philadelphia. He did not look in the best shape. And I'm saying to myself, if that's a guy who wants one last chance with the Heat, that probably wasn't the best video to come out. So this stuff I take all with a grain of salt. But you know what, Big O, and you and I will talk about it in our next.
But listen, but it sells the sport.
Yes.
So that's also fun, and these two guys now, Banchero and the other kid are now, going at it on IG now. They're going back and forth. But yeah, I'm at practice on Saturday. And, you got one of the football players trying to pump up the crowd, and he's doing the worm and all this stuff. And my point is that it's all in fun and they're doing a great job of selling their sport and connecting with fans. And then when I look at baseball and I see nothing of that anywhere, that there is no entertainment, there's no connection. Hell, there isn't even advertising. I mean, soccer players, basketball players, football players, they're out there advertising stuff and connecting with people. It's amazing to me. And to me, that's the good thing about the Banchero stuff, and even laughing with the Royce O'Neal stuff, and anything else that the NBA and NBA players do, whether they stop in the middle of a neighborhood of kids playing a pickup game to go dunk on them. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is awesome because it sells the game. And one more thing, the Banchero kid, I don't watch a ton of college basketball because it's just so unattractive at this point
agree.
now to me. Because I grew up with stars in college. There are no stars anymore.
One and
But
done,
I will say this, because I didn't watch a lot of Banchero, now that I've watched him since the Summer League and on, I'm super impressed with that kid. Like, wow. Like, what a shame Orlando.
The Magic are going to have the Magic have a bunch of intriguing young players. The problem is if they're any good, they leave.
I've heard that before.
Yes. I mean, Jonathan Isaac, Mo Bamba, and then, it depends what you want to think of Cole Anthony, but they have the young players, but they never keep them because they're the team that lost Shaq, that lost Dwight Howard, that loses everyone because they're, I guess, for lack of a better word, a Mickey Mouse organization for way too long. So they have that issue. And the good thing, Big O, about the social media is this. You and I have spoken for years about how the NBA has started to emulate the NFL model, be 12 months a year, always have something. I think Adam Silver really hates that free agency slowed down because of Durant and because of Donovan Mitchell. And I almost think he's like calling Woj, like, come on, don't you got a Woj bomb? Hey, Shams, drop something on us. And that's why even the NBA schedule, that almost always would be out by this week. We wrote a story about the Heat having a Mexico City game coming up.
Yeah,
and the whole
I was going to ask you about that.
Look. Yeah. Are the Brooklyn Nets going to be must-see TV with Durant or Irving or not? Are the Knicks going to be better see TV with Donovan Mitchell and with Jalen Brunson or not? The league is sort of caught in between and in betwixt. And I'll give you another one. The league made a mistake of putting so many Lakers games on TVs last year, which were garbage. But I got to tell you, if you're going to reunite Kyrie Irving and LeBron James, I'll watch some of that. So
because of the train wreck quality to it is why you're also going to watch it. That's kind of what it is too.
But especially early in the season when you want to see what they could be. So the league's in a tough position because you could put together a Lakers-Knicks Christmas game that on paper looks great, and all of a sudden we're watching Russell Westbrook, brick 3-pointers. And we're watching Jalen Brunson as the face of a franchise and Julius Randle regress. So the league's in a tough spot not knowing what their teams are. They almost need like a summer trading deadline. Like you have to get your work done by this day because we need to put a schedule together.
Although I hope the pandemic doesn't come back because if he's in California.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Hey, look,
Gavin's in charge over there, buddy. So it's a whole different ball game.
Even Canada still has their vaccine rules. We've seen a ton of very good teams go to play the Blue Jays without half their team. So, that's going to be a factor with the Raptors and all that. Yeah, there's a lot of ancillary stuff going on, but hey, it's just the time, so you just roll with it.
Yep, I'm with you there. All right. When we look at this team, if they're going to make a deep run, okay, if there is no big move for Mitchell, if there's no big move for Durant, all right, it's going to be up to Depot and Tyler, right? It really, in the end, it's going to be up to the guy that I would imagine starts or the other guy comes off the bench. But those two guys, somebody's got to step up and become the Robin to Jimmy Butler. Doesn't it almost, because I don't really look at Bam to become that offensive guy.
It's not who
And
he is.
and I don't think Caleb's going to get enough minutes to be that guy unless he somehow unseats it. And I don't look at Strus as that guy yet. He's still complimentary. It's going to have to be between Depot or Tyler to see who becomes Robin, correct?
Yeah, and I think it's got to be Depot for this reason. Tyler last season during the regular season was very, 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 very good. He was your NBA Six-Man Award winner. If Tyler Hero just replicates last season, that's really a pretty good bar already, Big O. So to me, it's Victor Oladipo has to make the step. It's interesting. This is his third season with the Heat. Okay, maybe his first full season, but he's been here for a while. He knows what the expectations are. He knows the culture. He knows the playbook. He knows the coach. I'm really curious to see what he can deliver. When you talk about X factors, and you talk like you were mentioning me with Bancaro and draft choices and Holmgren with Oklahoma City, how they have the shiny new thing and everyone's excited, or the team that gets Jalen Brunson in the free agent. I think Victor Oladipo could be the shiny new thing for the Heat, because here's the deal. The last 2-3 years, he has not been anywhere close to the all-star player he was in Indy.
Right.
If he truly is as healthy as he's saying, if to go back what we were talking about just before, if his social media is on his social media with all the work he's done and all the playing he's done, I think the Heat could have the steal of the offseason in a player who already was on their roster in Victor Oladipo. Because Victor Oladipo, if he gets back to 75% of what he was, that's 50% more than the Heat have had either of their last 2 seasons. The Heat could really be like a 4-wing circus. You could have Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo out there, maybe even with Jimmy playing the 4 at the end of games. I already wrote it to Sun Sentinel. There's no real power forwards anymore, especially in the Eastern Conference. This team could not only be competitive and good again. ESPN today picked them for 3rd in the East. They'll be in that mix. This team could also be something it hasn't been in a long time also. Can be really, really fun. Because when you have Lowry, Hero, and Oladipo and Butler on the court at the same time, if you can make the spacing work and Vic can hit the 3, that could be a really fun team to watch also. Matter of fact, I'm going to take Tyler Hero away from the list you just gave me. I'm going to say this. Victor Oladipo is the swing state for the Miami Heat this season. If he becomes anything close to what he was, screw Boston and Malcolm Brogdon and Danilo Gallinari. Screw Philadelphia and PJ Tucker as their only major addition. The Heat will be in very good shape to be right back where they were.
So he's a Senator Manchin, huh? He moves the entire bill.
Exactly. As long as the Heat continues to burn coal at FTX Arena, the Heat will be fine.
By the way, we could also call Depot. They do have a fresh 30-year-old, because you really think about it.
Oh,
he hasn't played a lot of basketball in, 4 years now, right?
And not only that, as a matter of fact, and I want to bring up something else because you met him in Summer League. I know you introduced them, you talked to him. The Heat also have Harlan Selznick as their team physician, who has done wonders in extending players' career and bringing them back through injuries. I know we introduced you to him in Summer League. You sat there and talked to him. He probably told you all about Red Recover. Maybe not. I'll leave it there. But what I'm saying is the Heat really have a very good medical and training staff to get guys. The comeback player, the reconditioned player is nothing new for the Miami Heat. They got Dwayne Wade out of a very dark place with his knees and his issues to resurrect him right to the end of his career. So I think that brings a lot of hope with Victor Oladipo also. I would agree, Big O.
Yeah, no, hell, they kept Tim Hardaway on the court with the plantar fasciitis.
Yeah.
Alonzo Mourning. I mean, God, there's so many great examples of Harlan and his staff keeping players in one piece, as they were going. And he was there with his lovely wife, by the way, at the game.
And just to fill people in, and no one works a room like Orlando Alzugaray, so I expect him to wind up with a free hip or knee replacement by the end of the season. You should have seen this guy losing in Vegas.
I don't need one yet. Why are you replacing my hips and my knees? They're good far, man.
Just get one from him and put it in the trunk so you'll have it available.
I'll save it. Okay, all right, I got it. That's there's nothing wrong with that. Mike James calling Steph Curry one-dimensional. Mike James living in a recreational state or something? What's going on?
You know what? You could say he's one. You know what? You could say he's one-dimensional for this reason. You and I can refer to Steph
offensively.
Curry. We could refer to Steph Curry as a 3-point specialist. But when you're the absolute best the game has ever seen, with all due respect to Reggie Miller and everyone else, I don't care if you're one-dimensional. If you're one-dimensional is great. Let's not overstate Steph as a defender, but he's a very good playmaker. He does get to the basket. He's a very strong finisher. But the one thing he does great is so great that I have no issue with it. It's like saying Dennis Rodman was one-dimensional with his rebounding.
He facilitates too. He does facilitate.
He's a playmaker.
And he does, and he's like Wade in a sense of not the shot blocker, but he does get in passing lanes and does get steals. So, and I'm not saying one-on-one steals. I'm talking about team steals where he gets in the passing lane and those kind of things. There's a difference between a one-on-one defender and what we're talking about, a team defender. Right. Some guys are not great team. Like Wade was never even a good one-on-one defender. But as a team defender, he was an exceptional team defender because he was one of the best help players when it comes to blocking shots and all of that. So some guys, even Tim Hardaway, when he got here, he had a knack for getting into the passing lanes and picking up a steal or two. He would do that himself. Again, he wasn't going to stop you as a one-on-one player, but he learned to be a team defender, which I think I always got to give credit to people like that. I think Steph Curry doesn't get enough credit for how his game has evolved. That I know he's the greatest shooter we've ever seen, but he does other things that help his team out a lot of times. He helps out in rebounding. He helps out with the assist. He does help out with the steals.
He wins, and he wins championships as a leader.
That too. And for those of you that don't know, Mike James, former Miami Heat player, says, I feel like Jokic and Steph are just a little bit below those other five, talking about the elite players. But obviously, they're still amazing. Steph, I like how he plays and how he gets stuff off. It's just kind of one-dimensional at times, if that makes sense. He's not the primary ball handler a lot for a point guard. That kind of bothers me, but he does score off the dribble. He's a superstar. So it's just when you're that good and you have all those titles, and it's hard for me to just label that guy one-dimensional. And I admire the crap out of him for also fighting through all the injuries, because a lot of us, me included, were looking at him early on going, yeah, dude, he's just too fragile. He's just not holding up his body.
To me, the greatest stories in sports are the guys who start with nothing but adversity and come through, just like Zydrunas Ilgauskas with his foot injury early in his career, and the guys who at the start have the injuries and then still become something. To me, those are the great success stories.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. It is absolutely amazing. It's just hard for me to call him that. All right, the Mexico City game. Your thoughts?
That's been in the works for a while. The Spurs are trying to increase their footprint. They realize they're in a small market. They're going to play some games in Austin. They might go back to the Alamo Dome for a commemoration game from their championship era starting. Mexico City, the Heat have been there before.
Plus, we've got thousands crossing the border. So, yeah, come on over. Join us.
I'm staying the hell away from that, Big O. So, because I'm afraid right now that the governor of Texas, as soon as I cross the border, is going to put me on a bus to New York. So, I'm staying the hell out of all of that. So, if called upon, I will serve and cover that game. Matter of fact, it'll be interesting to see the internet connection for the Acura Pembroke Pines report from Mexico City. So, that might be a phoner. We'll wait and see in December.
Who knows? Maybe, maybe Sean and I have a mood for a little Mexican, and who knows, Sean and the Seaman and, the threesome goes out on the road to Mexico City to cover that event.
I don't know. You guys at the Mexican buffet, that will not end well.
Hey, listen, if it's on Tim Donovan, I'm there. That's all I got to say. If Tim Donovan's whipping out the credit card, then I'm there for the Mexican buffet.
And a few cervezas as well.
That's it. A couple cervezas. Nothing wrong with that. All right. What are you working on the Sun Sentinel so folks can check you out?
Updated my Kyle Lowry story today and just did a thing about how he's proven that he wants to be better, how he recognizes what his physique is and how he can work with that going forward. I'm also dealing with something, and I'll get into this with Kurt Heelan on our Red Recover Inside the Paint on Wednesday. If you're talking about trading Tyler Hero because he's extension eligible, keep in mind, 3 of the players that the Heat have been linked to at power forward, Miles Turner, Jay Crowder, Harrison Barnes, all are entering the final years of their contract. So if you're concerned about extending Tyler, you might have to extend a player you acquire instead. So there's an interesting element there. I'll get into that with Kurt. And I also want to go over sort of now that things have quieted down, our rankings of where the teams stand in the Eastern Conference. So going to address that in my Ask Ira at sunsentinel.com. Going to be back here at 9 a.m. on Wednesday on our Red Recover Inside the Paint with Kirk Heelan from NBC Sports, and we'll discuss that as well.
There you go. And follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat and subscribe to the South Florida Sun Sentinel and support him and all the great writers. Ira, as always, we will catch up with you on Wednesday on our Red Recover Inside the Paint show.
And then Friday, and another Acura Pembroke Pines report that'll be even gooder than this one. Thank you, Big O.
There you go. Nice job, Ira. By the way, the 2022 Acura TLX technology package is in, $449 a month. It is a beautiful vehicle. The all-new Integra is in. And when I say new, I mean new, 2023. I mean, the 2022s are also new. But I'm telling you, the 2023s are already rolling in, man, in July and August. Started rolling in July. We're in August. Go check out the 2023 Integra. Man, that thing is beautiful. It is sharp. The 2023 MDX is in. How about that? You can get $1,000 off loyalty savings at 15601 Pines Boulevard, just off of I-75 in Pines. Go check it out. The RDX, my wife drives one of those. Loyalty savings of $1,000 at Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. That is your Acura Pembroke Pines, Miami Heat and NBA report.